What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Basketball is Fun. As always, I am your host, Zach Cronin, and I'm thrilled that you would choose to spend some time here with me today. Of course, you already know we're talking about the conclusion of the 2023 NBA Finals. On Monday night, the Denver Nuggets, led by Nikola Jokic, pulled off a second half comeback victory against the Miami Heat in Game 5 of the 2023 NBA Finals, with the final score being 94-89. In its totality, I will come out and just put this on the table. I'm going to show my hand immediately. I enjoyed this NBA Finals, which I don't know if this is like a hot take or not. I do, however, know that if you're a Denver Nuggets fan, you are enjoying this finals most certainly. If you're a Miami Heat fan, you are certainly not enjoying these NBA Finals. I think that this whole idea of enjoyment surrounding the Denver Nuggets and Miami Heat spawned from a tweet I saw in which Chris Mannix was doing an interview where he discussed how this Denver Nuggets team is not fun to cover. They're not compelling to write about, to talk about, to just really discuss in any way. And that rubbed me the wrong way, so much so that I'm actually going to make a separate video dedicated to that and just talk about the overall view of the national sports media and why they operate the way that they operate. But even though this series only lasted 5 games, I have no qualms with it. Of course, you're going to have some folks out there, some basketball fans, who will see this series as the Lay's potato chips of NBA Finals, where you open it up and it's 85% air, nothing there, no substance, minutes of enjoyment. I did not see it that way. It wasn't the most compelling finals in recent memory. I mean, that's got to be probably 2016, at least over the last 10 years or so. Um, it wasn't, up to the level of 2016, but I don't think this was a bad finals. And the viewership numbers respect that at least here, or reflect that at least here in the States. For most of this series, this finals was on par with last year's, with the Celtics and the Warriors. And I think people were tuning in because this was good, high quality basketball, especially from Denver and even from Miami as well. And then, of course, you have one thing that drives viewers more than anything else, and that is narratives. I think the narrative for this NBA Finals was the strongest non-premier matchup, was the strongest narrative excluding premier matchups. Because when it's a LeBron and Steph Finals, people are going to tune in. When it's a Jason Tatum Steph Finals, folks are going to tune in. When you have two preeminent stars going at each other, folks are going to tune in, and more casuals are going to tune in as well. This, and of course, no disrespect to Nikola Jokic and Jimmy Butler, did not have the same draw. It did not have the same allure as some other matchups. I think afterwards, after folks got to consistently watch Nikola Jokic, I think that's going to change because this guy was absolutely on another level. Finals MVP, pretty easily. Finals MVP, I would say, averaged 30 points, 14 boards, 7 assists, shot damn near 60% from the field, had 18 points in the second half of Game 5, which ultimately pushed his Nuggets to victory. It was just an overall spectacular series from Nikola Jokic, one that, again, I think is really going to put him on the mainstream view for not only, hardcore hoops fans, but casual fans as well, which again is really odd to think about when you consider the fact that he's already a two-time MVP and undeniably one of the best players in recent memory. But I don't want to exclude the rest of the Nuggets because a big reason why they were able to beat Miami and beat Miami as convincingly as they did was their contributions from everybody outside of Nikola Jokic. If you guys follow a team sport, you know that your team is only as strong as the weakest guy coming off your bench. And in basketball, this rings truer than ever just with how the rotations are set up. Like you have to be able to go 7, 8 guys deep throughout the playoffs if you're hoping to have a lengthy run. And of course, Jamal Murray, albeit he did not play as well as some might have expected, averaged just 21 points this series, but took his playmaking to another level. Handed out 50 assists through these 5 games, which was an aspect of his game that he never really showcased throughout the regular season. Still maintained quality efficiency as well, 45% overall, 38% from three, 92% from the line. But this series, as I already started talking about, as I continue to yet again repeat myself, this series was won by guys like Christian Brown, Aaron Gordon, and Bruce Brown. Aaron Gordon was the Nuggets' third leading scorer at 14 points per night. His contributions, particularly in game four, when he had 27 and looked like Charles Barkley, were invaluable because Michael Porter Jr. was nowhere to be seen this series. MPJ, just he did not look great at all. Did not play well, really in any degree offensively for this series. Averaged less than 10 points. Missed 24 of his 28 attempts from three. Just a very forgettable series from Michael Porter Jr. And not that I want to like cling on him for that long because like ultimately he wasn't expected to be a superstar in the series anyway, but he's lucky that Aaron Gordon and Bruce Brown stepped up as they did because the jokes would be flying. Youngins on TikTok, the Zoomers on TikTok would be looking to send Michael Porter Jr. to China if Aaron Gordon didn't step up in his place. But I will say Michael Porter Jr., although he didn't really do much offensively, was huge on the glass for Denver. As we all know, the hardest part of playing defense is finishing the possession, and you can only finish the possession by grabbing the rebound. He was the team's second leading rebounder in this series, so something to a good thing that we can most certainly point to. But then again, like Bruce Brown and Christian Brown off the bench as well, just bringing all of this energy, particularly on defense, because as we know, Denver was not the best defensive team throughout the year. So just having guys who can create something on that end, especially because there were many points in this game where the offenses were just slogging along. Like it was at times, this series was very, very difficult to watch. And that is with Nikola Jokic averaging 30 a night. But yeah, Denver got all the production and more that they could have asked for from really everybody. And then even guys like KCP on defense as well. I mean, I just in the theme of sticking with their defense, in the second half of game five, Miami shot 29.8% from the field. 29.8% from the field and 25% from three. This perfectly leads into the absolute letdown that was Miami's offense throughout the second half of this series. They scored 111 points in game two and did not score more than 95 in any of the three subsequent games, largely because their three-point shooting regressed to where it was during the regular season. For the series as a whole, they shot 34% from three. They were not going to beat the Denver Nuggets if they were shooting anything less than like 38%. Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin both made just one-third of their threes combined. They shot 15 of 45. Max Strus had really only one good game from the perimeter, finished the series 6 of 32. Duncan Robinson was the best three-point shooter that Miami could have. Looked like the guy who earned those $90 million, but his contributions from three were not enough to offset the flounderings or the underwhelming nature of the three guys whom I just mentioned. And this is something that maybe I was a little bit too optimistic of. And I guess I was so captivated by how Miami had upset Milwaukee and then upset Boston in the conference finals that I just thought that they would figure out how to make it work offensively because they figured out how to do just that against two teams that on paper were better defenses than Denver. And yet Miami just failed to do anything meaningful on offense. It was such a grind for them. Every possession was such a grind because they really couldn't lean on anybody to create offense for them. I mean, Jimmy Butler is a fantastic player, deserves all of the praise that he got throughout the playoffs leading up to the finals, but he did not play well in these finals. He did not play up to the level that we're expecting of Jimmy Butler. Averaged about 21 and a half points a night, shot 41% from the field, just did not have it in really any degree and was really bothered, I think, by the size that Denver has on the perimeter, which again, just very odd to see. So I don't know if this was like if his Cinderella run just came to an end or if Denver's intensity on defense like really bothered him. And I think it did to a degree, but when you're a championship level team, you should be able to overcome this. Like Denver did just that. There were points where Miami's defense was swarming and Denver still managed to create offense. This is something that I always bring up, but there's a difference between scoring points and manufacturing them. Any team can score points, but manufacturing them is ultimately what separates the dominant teams from the lesser teams because you can make something out of nothing. Like you could turn a pile of shit into tiramisu if you have a well-oiled, efficient half-court offense, very much like how Denver does, and Miami does not have that. If I had to guess, it's their lack of playmaking on the perimeter. This is the one thing with Jimmy Butler that is, I think, capping his ceiling. And I mentioned this last week as well. He is, it's not that he's a bad perimeter player, but he's not someone who, I mean, I don't want to like be disrespectful, but he does not have the same capabilities on the perimeter as some of the other guys that are close to him, like Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, um, Devin Booker, folks like that. I mean, even now Jamal Murray. Like Jamal Murray is a far more frightening guy for me to game plan against. Like if I were a coach, even though I have absolutely no business doing that, Jamal Murray would be far more frightening for me to game plan against than Jimmy Butler because Jamal has opened up the entire floor when he's out there. It ultimately just got to a point where Miami was not doing anything on offense. The possessions were stagnant. They were kind of just passing the ball around, hoping to make something happen. They weren't using dribble penetration that effectively. They were relying too much on perimeter shooting with Caleb Martin and Max Strus. And listen, I get it. Shooters shoot, but when the three ball isn't falling, you got to put the ball on the deck and find a way to get some easy buckets. I will say, actually, before I say this, Jimmy Butler's performance at the end of Game 5 was it was tough to watch. I enjoy watching Jimmy Butler play basketball, even if I do sound like a hater. But to settle for a contested three when you can play out the rest of the game, it's first started with the turnover where Jimmy Butler more or less handed the ball to Contavious Caldwell Pope. That occurred at 20 seconds left, with Miami only down one. So KCP is fouled, goes to the line, makes both. Denver is now up by three. It is a one possession game, and there is plenty of time left. 24 seconds is a long time for both of these teams. They have elite talent and elite coaching. A lot can happen here. Jimmy Butler settles for a contested 26-foot three with 17 seconds left on the clock. I know that this is where the game of basketball is going. I know that Miami has lived and died by the three-pointer all playoffs long. That is not the shot that I want Jimmy Butler taking. I want the ball in Jimmy Butler's hands at the end of the game, regardless of how good or bad he's been. I want him to do what he does best. I want him to utilize the skill set that has brought Miami to this point. Put the ball on the deck, force Aaron Gordon to defend you because I think that Jimmy Butler as an offensive player is better than Aaron Gordon on defense. I will take that matchup one-on-one 100% of the time, especially because Nikola Jokic was not yet beginning to come over to help. There was not an early rotation because you're not going to rotate early off of Bam. Put pressure on the defense, try to get a shot inside the paint, and maybe they foul you. And guess what? Even if they don't foul you and you make the layup, it's a one-point game. You can continue to foul Denver, and at no point will it ever become more than a one-possession game. It was just lackluster game management, really just shocking as well when you consider how on top of everything Eric Spoelstra has been throughout his entire career. It was a tremendous letdown to a game that up until that point was way better than the ending would think. And I do think that overall this series was better than the 5 game length that it went. That I know that's going to sound like really weird for someone to say because again, like statistically, it doesn't seem that way. But it was back and forth basketball. It was Denver going on a run, Miami responding, Miami going on a run, Denver responding. It was high level basketball. There is no denying it. I will say, Bam Adebayo took this matchup and played, I think, way better than everybody else anticipated. I saw multiple out of pocket tweets from a bunch of people, myself included, where we thought that Bam was just going to get manhandled by Jokic. And he was certainly outplayed by Nikola Jokic because, listen, this is the fucking best player in basketball. But at no point did Bam justify the memes of sending him to China, of sending him to Latvia, Estonia. This guy was the best player that Miami had. Averaged 22 points, 12 boards, shot 55% from the field. If it were not for him, this series I think would have been over in 3 games. I think Adam Silver would have mercy ruled this series in the fourth quarter of game 3 because just going down the box score, this is not compelling stuff from Miami. This is actually like quite disgusting performances from Vincent. I don't even want to lump Kyle Lowry in there because he saved them on multiple occasions. He kept them in multiple games. Game 5 was one. I want to say game 2 as well. So Kyle Lowry was there. But like Caleb Martin, Kevin Love, I thought was going to be a bigger factor. I guess that was just me being a little. I guess that was just me being reactionary in the moment. But on paper, it looked like he would make a more sizable difference. But so it goes. Anyway, congratulations to the Denver Nuggets. Congratulations to everybody in the organization, all the coaches, all the players, um, everyone else who works behind the scenes. Congratulations to Nikola Jokic for being named the Finals MVP as well, and congratulations to the fans who got to witness the first championship in the history of this organization. And with that, I'm going to bring this episode to a close. Thank you guys so much for coming to hang out with me today. Everything I'm associated with is linked in the description below: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, leave a like on the video as well. It helps with the algorithm. And with that, I'll catch you guys in the next one.